What's going on, Cowboys Nation? Welcome to Week 11 edition of Cowboys Weekly, the pilot episode featuring your boy Skywalker Still and Law Nation. Hey, man, I'm kind of excited for this, man, to see how this thing is going to roll. And let's just jump right into it, Law. I think the biggest news coming out of Dallas Cowboys right now is that Andy Dalton is out of the COVID protocol, out of the concussion protocol, and he will be our starting quarterback for Week 11. What do you think about that right now?
Oh, good old Andy Dalton. All I can think about is this right here. What Michael Irvin said is still heavy on my heart. He said that, hey, everybody think that Andy Dalton is the best backup quarterback. But when he was the starting quarterback, he was the worst starting quarterback. So I'm just in this middle place with Andy Dalton, although he got the experience, although he got the his first 4 or 5 years he made it to the playoffs, or something like that. But that been many a moons ago. So I'm like, give Garrett Gilbert another shot at this.
I'm with you, man. I think a lot of Cowboys Nation wants to see Garrett Gilbert get another shot. But let me ask you this, because a lot of Cowboys Nation is also thinking of this. Hey, slow down a little bit. Garrett Gilbert had an okay game, and we're kind of getting excited about it. That, in my opinion, that's a detriment to the QB position more than it is a detriment to Garrett Gilbert. Yes, he had an average game, but that average game was the best game of any Cowboys quarterback not named Dak Prescott. Let me repeat. That average game was the best game of any quarterback not named Dak Prescott. Should we kind of slow the brakes on Garrett Gilbert, or as we like to call him, Go Gadget Gilbert, or is he warranted another shot here?
Well, the coach came out and said, and you probably have to pull this information of, he's saying that the playbook is bigger, more that they can do with Andy Dalton. So I'm looking at it like, no, because Garrett Gilbert was going through his progression. I saw the way that everybody was kind of like feeding into his energy and buying into what he was selling out there. We saw Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb show us something in this particular pass game. Of course, it was a couple of weeks ago, but we at least saw something, right?
Yeah, the receivers absolutely woke up with Gilbert, and the offense wasn't amazing, but the offense moved the ball. It's crazy when you think about it. We only scored one touchdown in that Steelers game with Gilbert. However, we kicked, 4 or 5 field goals? Which to me, that means the offense is moving the rock. They just weren't finishing. So I would have hoped that they could build off of that, and that Kellen Moore could find ways to get in the end zone, because we know he struggles once you cross that 30, 40-yard line. Nonetheless, though, Dalton will be the guy. Do you think we'll lean on Zeke this week?
They should. According to Jerry Jones, he's the best player on this team.
Y'all let us know in the comments, man. Is Ezekiel Elliott the best player on this team? I don't think so right now, but that doesn't mean he's not good. It's just right now, Zeke's the best player. Nah, I don't think so, man. Hey, big dog, we also got another player back. Chido, Awuzie, a.k.a. Chido, is finally returning to the Dallas Cowboys after a, 7 or 6 week hiatus? Now, Chido to start the year wasn't bad. He had the interception against the Rams, right? And then he had some hiccups against the Falcons, but he still performed probably better than most of our corners not named Trevon Diggs. I would have loved to see Diggs and Chido together, but we won't. He's got a tough matchup. He's got a tough matchup this week.
Oh, my goodness.
Do you think we should throw Chido into the fire, or do they got to ease him in, man? Wasn't it a hamstring?
Yeah, it was a ham. So I wouldn't put him on anybody that's fast or quick. Now, I will put him on Adam Thielen, who is a physical big target for the Minnesota Vikings. And on top of that, what we missed from Chido Awuzie when I was looking at everything is the tackling, for one. He had 79. He could anywhere between 70 to 79 tackles a year. The opposing guy, AB, he get less than that, So I'm looking at tackling. I'm looking at pass breakdowns. I think he had like 14 to 15 that he averaged on pass bat downs. And of course, he don't get a lot of interceptions because he don't turn his head around to the ball. But he's already above his average because he already got his interception for the year. Right. So anything else, if he get us one more interception, he'll be playing above his average, right?
I mean, you're not lying, but I think we need to ease him in. I'm with you there because, Adam Thielen may be the possession receiver, but he's a pretty damn good route runner, and he can work you in the sense of he can tire you down. He is a big boy, but he's physical too for Adam Thielen. I mean, he's not a finesse guy, and he can just keep catching him and keep catching him and keep coming. And Chido hasn't played since week 2, so I think that his football win probably isn't all the way there yet. But it's not Thielen that concerns me the most. It's Justin Jefferson.
Oh my goodness.
This kid, by the way, thank you, Philly, for not taking Justin Jefferson and rolling with Jalen Reagor. I always thought that Justin Jefferson would have been a better option for Carson Wentz. Nonetheless, he's now a guy we're going to have to face this week. And I think that he's just such a complete wide receiver in the sense of he can defeat you at all levels of the field. And you talked about not wanting to put Chido on a speedy guy. They don't really have a ton of those guys. But, again, Justin Jefferson is another guy that can work you. So I think we should ease Chido back in. Unfortunately, though, are we afforded that without Trevon Diggs?
Without Trevon Diggs, man, we don't have that longitude nor latitude because I'm looking at it like this. AB against a big physical receiver. Nah, I don't want that. AB versus a maybe Justin Jefferson. I can probably live with it, but he's going to get his. And I know that Kirk Cousins, sometimes he'll fall back, drop back, close his eyes and just throw it to him. And I think that Justin, he'll still reach out and grab it and pull it on.
Oh, well, we saw last year we struggled against those weapons, specifically a guy that's not really being talked about this week, and that's Kyle Rudolph.
Oh my goodness.
We don't really defend Kyle Rudolph too well. He's a huge red zone target, and we have smaller cornerbacks again and safeties that just, no offense to you, Donovan Wilson, because I think Donovan Wilson is showing progression. But are you confident in any of these safeties stopping the passing game?
Well, this is going to have to be a game that we see the Wolf, LVE. Maybe he had to be the guy that's underneath, redirect, chip Kyle Rudolph. Maybe, just maybe, if we can utilize his coverage ability. Because I think, he got a little bit of that in him. And if we can utilize him as that and then have the bracket coverage of Donovan Wilson over the top, maybe that will work out and slow down Kyle Rudolph. But Rudolph going to get his too because he is Kirk Cousins' go-to target on third down.
Absolutely. We're going to get into it here in the bold predictions in a few seconds. It really is not the tight end and the receivers that scare me the most, but we'll talk about what really does scare me the most there, man. Before we get there, though, man, to wrap up the actual Cowboys news coming out of this week, it's the rumor. It's not really news. It's the hot rumor that's going around right now that has me putting up my little antennas, and that is Jaylon Smith per JJT. They say they're asking him to take a pay cut at some point or get cut, potentially be cut. First, let's start here. How real do you think that rumor is after hearing Jerry Jones talk about Cornerstone?
It's about as real as $3 bills, man. I just don't see that Jones is falling on the sword saying that, okay, let's cut our losses and let's just figure out a way to get rid of him. And especially when you got guaranteed money, it's guaranteed.
No, you're not lying about that. I don't have the faith in this organization cutting ties with a guy like Jaylon Smith when they just signed him to a huge contract, and when this is one of Jerry's emotional picks, emotional signings, right? He's attached to this player. I'm trying to think, and I thought about this throughout the week. When was the last time Dallas cut a high-priced player when they had a lot left on their contract? The last one I can think of was 2013, DeMarcus Ware. But the reason why they did that was because he was showing some signs of injury issues, right? But when was the last time they just flat out cut a high-priced guy like a Jaylon Smith? Maybe Roy Williams without injury concerns. Maybe Roy Williams a receiver. He doesn't do it.
I was going to say probably Dez Bryant, but did they cut him, or was he still had money on his contract?
Dez Bryant is actually a good one. I'm gonna be honest with you. It didn't register to think about Dez, but that is actually a good one. Now, we all believe that was a Steven decision. That was a Scott Linehan decision, right? So who is the Scott Linehan for Jaylon Smith?
Unless it's a situation in the scenario that Jaylon Smith and Mike Nolan got into fisticuffs or something like that. I just don't think that will cut ways with him. But if it's something like that to happen, it will have to fall under those scenarios because I just don't see it.
I can't
I
see
just
it
think
being
that
a
they're
clean cut.
figured out another way to make it work. Anytime they let Tyrone Crawford
Yeah.
work for all of these years, come on.
Yeah. And what you going? Here's my thing. What are you going to do with the bread anyway? I would love to use it to go sign some prominent players, but I don't. Again, I don't trust this front office to do that. So here's my scenario though. Say they do cut Jaylon, right? They surprise me and they actually cut a guy that Jerry loves or what have you. Which again, great pickup on the Dez Bryant because Jerry did love him and they did cut him. It didn't even register in my head. I'm thinking DeMarcus Ware, but that's a good insight there or thought process about Dez. But let's say they do cut him. Let's say they do cut Jaylon Smith. Do you take a linebacker high in the draft? And I'm talking about the one linebacker. I'm talking about Micah Parsons, who's looked at as your top, 7 to 12-ish off-ball linebacker. Before you answer, at first, I was not with taking a top off-ball linebacker in the top 5 of the draft. But the more I think about it, we really need that kind of linebacker on this team. I don't believe in Jaylon long-term. LVE, the health issues, right? Sean Lee's just about done. And then you got Joe Thomas, who's just a reserve. Linebacker's looking like a need, brother.
It is, but it's going to be high and heavy real estate, man, if we're to get somebody in that early of a draft. Unless they do some finagling and moving, trading down or something like that, maybe they can do something of that nature. But when I look at Parsons, he's an explosive guy. He used to be a defensive end in high school.
Yep.
And I think
and a running back
all the way. Right. And running back. But I don't know. How is he in coverage? Because he's explosive at the end and he coming down and hitting and tackling. It's one of his best pursuits. But I don't know about in coverage, though. That's my biggest reservation, huh?
He's not horrible. He's not bad coverage, but he's just okay.
He's not Jaylon Smith coverage.
Well,
like
the funny thing about Jaylon coming out of college, he was phenomenal as a coverage linebacker, but the knee injury and all that. I don't know if he would be a liability in coverage yet in the pros. It's one of those wait and see things, right, when it comes to coverage, because passing is more complicated. When I say passing designs, in my opinion, a little bit more complicated in NFL because you have smarter quarterbacks. You have veteran quarterbacks. You have these veteran offensive coordinators, veteran offensive lines. They know how to take advantage of you. And we've seen that with Jaylon. They know how to take advantage of Jaylon Smith. So we just got to wait and see how they take advantage of Micah Parsons in the league and then how he adjusts to it. I don't know that we've seen Jaylon adjust very well. But I think, oh, man, this is going to sound crazy. I know the nation's going to kill me, man. But if we stand pat and we're anywhere between 5 and 7, and, Sewell's off the board, obviously we're not taking a quarterback there, I think I would go with Parsons.
Oh, wow.
I think I would, man. Now here's the thing, though. In this scenario, when you don't have Jaylon, do you look at Parsons as the Patrick Willis or as the Luke Kuechly, the guys who did go top 10-ish and went on to be all pros? I think Parsons has those qualities in him. I really do think he can be that guy. And I think we can end up saying, damn, we should have took Parsons, and he goes on and he's just killing it. Because remember the year that Kuechly went, I think it was Luke Kuechly that year, I think we could have had him. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was the Fletcher Cox year, the Michael Brockers. Remember we traded up to go get Morris Claiborne.
Yeah.
I want to say it was that year. I could be wrong, but I'm almost sure it was around that same time frame. Nonetheless, if you believe he's a Luke Kuechly or Patrick Willis, don't you just take it?
I just think that history might repeat itself, but this time we land on a good cornerback. And the reason why I say that is because now it's now it's Chido Awuzie, his contract year. It's Jordan Lewis's contract year. And on top of that, it's somebody else, Xavier Woods' contract year. So we got all of these places where we're going to have to fill in, and it's going to be harder for us to look at it and say, well, he'll get a linebacker when we play so much of nickel anyway, Yeah. So I just don't think that they will just invest that much of real estate into a linebacker. Now, I could be 1,000,000% wrong, and I can close my eyes and only imagine what Parsons would look like in this front. But there's another thing that we got to talk about. Jerry talked about this in his interview about the Jaylon Smith, on how he loved Jaylon Smith as well. Oh, no. It was Michael Irvin. he was talking about the front four. He was saying that, hey, even Ray Lewis said he needed big hogs up front. So, maybe the Dallas Cowboys, do we have a dominant defensive tackle in this draft?
No. Oh, in this draft.
Nah.
In this draft. No, I don't. A lot of draft pundits are finding it hard to see a defensive tackle in the top 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm not all the way in the lab, but no, I don't think there's one worthy right now from everything I'm hearing in that top 10 area. Unfortunately, it sucks because the things I'm hearing is that a lot of positions we need, it's the worst time to suck to be top 3, top 5, because there's none of those positions up there. There's no corner that checks all the boxes, right, to go in the top 3. There's no DT that checks all the boxes to go in the top 3. Is there a defensive end? There's no Myles Garrett in there. Micah's close to the top 5, 7-ish, but 3, if we're picking at 3 or 2, that's rough. So we are in a weird situation right now. If we can't trade back, you're probably taking the tackle, but we'll have I'm sure we'll have a Cowboys Weekly about the draft here soon. So
yeah,
it ain't gonna take
it's
too
gonna
much
open
longer.
up, and on top of that, the draft always change once the NFL Combine and all of that stuff happens as well. So
it absolutely does. All right, before we get out of here with this Cowboys Weekly Week 11 edition, we got to hit some bold predictions versus the Minnesota Vikings. Now, I hit you up earlier like, yo, listen, don't tell me your bold prediction, but here's a bold prediction. I'm going to let you start it off first, and I'm going to hit you with the bold prediction afterwards. Go right on ahead.
All right, so this will be the game. Of course, we already know that you got the Justin Jefferson on the opposite side of the field. Oh, we also have our guy, CeeDee Lamb. So my bold prediction is that he's going to try to outshine him, and this will be the game that you will see multiple touchdowns from CeeDee Lamb. Somehow, one way or another, he's going to show that 88, and he's going to flash out there. And Andy Dalton, our version of AD, maybe he could find him, or it could be Gary Gilbert coming in the second half, and he can find a way to get the ball to CeeDee Lamb for two touchdowns, two tubs.
If Garrett Gilbert is coming in the second half, game's over. The game's over. But when you think about it, if he's coming in the second half to play catch up, he might throw that thing to CeeDee Lamb for some touchdowns. So not a bad bold prediction. I'm gonna go bold. If we're talking bold, I'm gonna go bold. Bold prediction. You see that man on the screen, y'all? Dalvin Cook. The Cowboys will hold Dalvin Cook to less than 100 yards and less than 4 yards per carry. Oh, let me say that one more time. Let me say, because that's bold. The Cowboys will hold Dalvin Cook to less than 100 yards and less than 4 yards per carry. Listen, it's called bold prediction, so I'm going bold. Okay, we give up over, I think, 150 yards per game or something crazy. We're 31st in the league in rush yards, given up on the ground. Prior to the Philly game, we were on a historic path to be very bad. But since the Eagles game, the Cowboys haven't given up over 119 rush yards, and really less than that if you don't count the scrambles from Carson Wentz. So they weren't terrible against Philly. They weren't dominant, but they held up. And then against the Steelers, they were dominant. Now, here's where my bold prediction, obviously, people are probably like, yo, Sky, you crazy. But here's where my bold prediction runs into a problem. The scheme that they run is the same scheme that the Cleveland Browns run, and the Cleveland Browns ran for over 300 yards against the Dallas Cowboys. That's why this is a bold prediction, ladies and gentlemen. That's why. Okay? Do I believe it's going to happen for real? Put a gun to my head? Probably not. But I'm going to predict a bold prediction, damn it. Less than 100, less than 4 yards. I think Neville Gallimore and Twaka and LVE, I think having all three of those guys back have helped this defense, or not back, but having LVE back has helped this defense tremendously. And I know that this game plan for the Vikings, it circles around Dalvin Cook. If you can hold Dalvin Cook, if you can stop or contain Dalvin Cook, and you make not Carson Wentz, he plays like Carson Wentz, but you make Kirk Cousins have to beat you. I'm all for making Kirk Cousins have to beat me. So bold prediction, damn it. Yeah.
Hey, that is exactly what the Chicago Bears tried to do to him. He had 30 attempts for only 96 yards, right? And he averaged less than 4 yards per carry. So We seen that happen last week,
Nah,
so
I'm
let's
saying
repeat
nah.
it.
Indeed. Hey, Nation, drop your bold predictions and your score predictions in the chat, and we will review these things. And maybe next week we'll go in and we'll see who was right, who was wrong, and we'll pick some of the comments also, and we'll talk about those as well. So hope you guys enjoyed the first edition of Cowboys Weekly, featuring your boy Skywalker and Law Nation. We out.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.